Hello everyone watching here and watching webinar also. I'm glad that you joined us, and we'll talk today about one thing that actually connects different fields but still is in part of the innovation in heritage area. We'll talk about the topic which is called Gastronomy, Theater and Housing Heritage. I'm Drejc Kokošar from ID20, and this about 15 to 20 minutes will be now starting our presentation. So, we are here in Idrija, and if we are talking about Idrija, actually we talk about mining, about everything that's connected to the mining of mercury. But it all started with creativity and innovation, when some guy who was here just actually found the mercury in the nearby stream. And this actually started the story of mercury mining and story of Idrija. So this is what actually developed afterwards. So you can see in front of you, you can see a system of tunnels. More than 1,000 kilometers were built in Idrija area just because of some guy who actually found the mercury in some stream. So very interesting what can happen from one, let's say, miracle. And if you look at it, this is Idrija nowadays, a big town. Okay, not so much, but like it's about 6,000 people. So it developed, it has its own life, but still we are always remembering what our people did in the past. So this is our common heritage here. And if you look at it, what is the cultural heritage that we can see here? So we have a cultural heritage of UNESCO heritage site of the mercury mining, where we are united with Almaden in one common story. Then we have a UNESCO heritage, intangible cultural heritage of Idrija lace making. And also we have production of Idrija žrikrofi pasta. We also have our own festival, which we'll talk also about it a little bit later. And also we are part of UNESCO Global Geopark Idrija. So we actually are proud of our heritage and we are preserving it for future generations. So ID20 has its own slogan, motto, taking heritage one step further through stories. And this is what we do through our work. So if we look a little bit closer, we organize Idrija žrikrofi Festival. This is a festival which actually grew in the last years into a big festival with more than 3,000 attendees, visitors from all over Slovenia, and also abroad we have quite a lot of guests, especially in the last years, where you can actually not just listen but also taste the story of Idrija žrikrofi, a special gastronomy dish that developed in Idrija. We also organize a festival of industrial culture called Betrip, which we organize biennially, so every second year. And in this festival we develop a special story connected to industrial heritage. So what actually culture connected to heritage brings to us? The stories of people, the stories of the past, and stories of the future also. And also, the focus, which we'll also now talk a lot more in the following minutes, is Idrija miners' houses. Miners in Idrija actually lived for centuries in a very special type of dwelling, which we called Idrija miners' houses, because they are really developed because of the miners and developed for the miners. So the miners lived there with their family. The owner lived in the first floor, and then the tenants in each floor above it. And unfortunately, most of them have already been damaged or destroyed, but some are still here. We have counted more than 100 of them, still at least partly preserved. And our task is at least to promote, to bring awareness, to raise awareness about these miners' houses and get the stories about them to broader community and also broader audience from around the world. So how can we make a house speak? That's a very interesting question which we should ask, because houses normally speak because of their residents. So what if the house doesn't have its residents? How to make them speak? How to make them tell their stories? And this is one challenge that we actually will think about more in the next minutes. So it all started with a discovery from the past. So we were talking about this man, a local guy who found mercury. Actually, we bought one house just about like few years ago. And of course, it's a miner's house. And what we found in this miner's house was a book of recipes. This book of recipes is about 100 years old. And this is what we want to do. So make these recipes speak about the house. And so this great cooking book, which was found in this house, as you can see on the picture. So Geyser cooking book, the Geyser is the name of the house. Is actually, we found a date inside which placed it in 1922. So it's full of unusual recipes. It's not only, it doesn't only includes recipes that we know nowadays that we cook, but also some local dishes like already Idrija žilikrafy, but also with different ingredients that nowadays we know them. For example, with dried fruit is one of the recipes. We have also meat from the pigeon inside the cooking book in 1922, which is very interesting and unusual at all. We have a lot of sweet desserts which are completely unknown right now. And so that richer, the cuisine is richer than we would expect for this kind of a year. So it's by a known author, but probably the author is one of the residents in the house, one that you can see on the picture on the right side of this presentation. So this was a family that lived at that time in the building. And so we've given a voice to Geyser House. How? We actually connected 3 different thematic fields in one area. So we developed actually a play which combines gastronomy, theater of course, and historical authenticity. So how we did it and what actually is it? Let's see. So first of all, if we want to develop a play, we need to know what Idrija was like in 1922. So what Idrija was in 1922? You probably don't, maybe you know a little bit about the period. Most of the people know that like it was a period between First and Second World War, and maybe some people would say, okay, that's the start of jazz and swing. I don't think it's really in Idrija what happened at that time. But actually, a lot of things were happening at that time, and Idrija was quite different as nowadays, but still had probably similar soul as we have now. So what actually happened? We are 4 years after the Great War, so now we call it First World War. Then it was only a Great War. And Idrija was at that time part of the Kingdom of Italy. So as you probably maybe know, in Slovenia it's quite common. In 1920, a Rapallo Treaty was signed when Idrija became a part of Italy, Kingdom of Italy. Unfortunately, this didn't brought prosperity to the town, which was a Slovenian speaking, as they needed to start speaking Italian, although there were no Italians before. So they were actually occupied by the majority, not in these areas, but majority in Italy, which were Italians. But here, almost no Italians. So it was a strong fascism policies. There was a period of march to the Rome in the same year. And also, Idrija was at that time a town at the border. So it was a military town. we're full of military, not yet actually in 22, but you need to know maybe we are about 10, not more than 10 kilometers away from the border of that time. So the life was quite different from what we see, because we are now in the middle of the country. And also, it was one of the last strongholds of the Slovenian language in Italy, Italian parts of Slovenian language area. Trieste was already attacked as a center, of course not military, but like linguistically. And Gorizia was the second town which was still active, but also very heavily attacked by the fascists. So Idria was one of the last strongholds. And so this is what Idria looked like. It was very similar to what we know about it today. Some buildings, of course, are completely different. Some bigger buildings also, there was mining everywhere. But it has the same silhouette, or how to say, as we are used today. And there we see, in the middle of the picture, we also see a Geyser house. One of the houses, of course, that are still preserved of this miner's house, and this is what we actually bought this house, and we decided to have a gastronomy theater play experience in this house. It's the house is here. You can see in the middle, so it's a little bit lower, and but in the middle of the screen. So an original play was created, which was based on this original Cook book. So how we made it? We made out a fictional family living in 1922. So a fictional family didn't exist before at all. And it's a story of forbidden love, hope and rebellion. I won't talk much more than this, because as soon as we got into it, we would get into the spoiler area. So you are all invited to come and take a look at this play, and I will also tell you later when will be the next possibility. So the play is based on a historical research. We did a lot of research in the area, historical newspapers, archives, and so on. What we found, and also, of course, common knowledge, what was happening, and trying to immerse into the life of then Idria. And also, after the concept was developed, the game was written further by the renowned Slovenian writer Aleš Čar. He was actually, he lived and was born in Idria, but later moved to other areas, but he is a very renowned, working for television and cinema, and also like he wrote some books, and of course was the best choice that we saw. And this original play was created within the project RE, so within the Creative Europe project, and also we are quite proud that our play is part of the official program of the European Capital of Culture, Gorizia 2025. So as you can see, the story is really immersing. You become a real visitor to the silver wedding. There are you are greeted by the daughter Clara, and then you go to the house when you are also greeted by the mother or wife and husband, Peter and Marianca, who each has their own life story, and they invite you to this silver wedding. So you are a real visitor. About 10 visitors can visit this play at one time, and then you become in a center of drama, family drama that's happening in front of you about forbidden love, as we have already mentioned. And this immersing story is, of course, takes about 1 hour and 30 minutes. And in the middle of this play, you also get some gastronomical experience, which we'll also talk about. So the cost is 60 euros per person. And also you are escorted by musician at the start, as you can see here on the picture. And what you actually receive, so you don't only go to the house, you don't only listen to their stories, but you also taste the typical dishes from this cookbook. So at first, of course, a local brandy cannot miss out of this scene. Then we have 4 courses. Their Žlikrofi, Idrija are not missing, but in a specific shape, a little bit different form and taste. And also there is a coffee and Italian digestivo fernet. Of course, we are in Italian time, so there is some, of course, connection to this fact. And local actors in this experience are from the local drama school, which we are very proud. So they are local actors who are amateur, are not professional, but they did their job really professionally. You can see a little bit from the pictures, but more directly when you go inside the house. And there is a lot of young actors also, which are also proud because we are, of course, passing the heritage further. An original music background was also developed. So in the middle of these breaks, you can actually listen to the blend of Austro-Hungarian Schrammel music, Italian canzone, and Idrija romantic punk from 80s. So this is a very interesting mix. Yes, yes. It's a very interesting combination. And young musicians here from Idrija are actually, I can only give them praise for what they did to make this blend actually real. An authentic design was also presented, which is trying to catch a design and mood of the 20s. You know, it was a very interesting period. And also we have provided an authentic furniture. A new kitchen was provided for the house. You can see it on the right side. And there is a refurbished main room in the house where you as a visitor can sit in this room. So, as I already mentioned, we will have new performances. The next one will be on Saturday and Sunday, so on the 29th and 30th June. At the date, so of course you will come either to the lunch or at the dinner. So it's of course part of real celebrations, how to say. And so what about the future? We want this experience to become a tourist staple of Idrija, so that it's not only for locals, it's not only for Slovenians, maybe also for foreigners, maybe to translate it in some language, at least English, because I think it gives you a real insight not only in Idrija life, but also into Slovenian life at that time. Because we normally listen or watch these great movies, books like Great Gatsby. We know about American stories, or maybe Peaky Blinders is also happening in this period series. But we don't have a lot of series, not a lot of movies or plays that happen at that time. And this is where we see a future of our play. So that's all from my side with this very nice picture connected to the mining heritage. I'd like to thank you for listening to this webinar about the gastronomy heritage and how to provide it in the housing, how to say, accommodation areas in Idrija. So thank you very much.